Scott, thank you for having me on your premiere video version of your podcast, Amp Up the Good. I like the name of that too. I'm always one for the optimistic, positive side of things.
We need a lot more of that these days. Yep. And so
Yes, sir.
you and
Yes.
I hooked up over LinkedIn, but man, your profile and what you've been up to is it could take us 2 or 3 hours, but we'll try to condense it down a little bit. First of all, you have been what tutoring over 40 years you've been teaching guitar?
Yeah, since I was about 20. I'm from the East Coast. I grew up in Maryland, Laurel, Maryland, playing guitar since I was about 13 and fell in love with it. Kiss, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, all the rock and roll classics, for sure. And then Van Halen bit me in the fingers, and I was just admired Ed's playing and just fell in love with it. And then got accepted at music school, GIT, back in the day out in Los Angeles. So I uh, moved out there. But in my early days back in Laurel, Maryland, one of my high school buddies was Marty Friedman. And my friends, when I was just starting to play guitar, uh, I didn't know Marty at the time because I was in 10th grade. Marty was in 12th grade. So he was, no, he wasn't famous obviously at the time. He was just a little high schooler like myself. And my friends were saying, you got to, you're getting really good, Dave, yourself. You got to meet this guy Marty here in 12th grade. He's like really, really good. And I saw him walking around school all the time with his guitar case, and he'd always hook class and he'd practice guitar under the bleachers, and he'd always be jamming. So I finally reached up the courage to talk to him, and I took a few lessons from him. He, had me take him over at his house, and he lived in the same. His parents lived in the same community, same development that my folks lived in, Montpelier, Laurel, Maryland, as where we grew up, and Montpelier was the development we were in. So I took several lessons from him there. He got me into playing the shreddy Uli Roth from the Scorpions and Paganini, the violin licks
Whoa.
that all those folks were into back in the day, and turned me on to that. He turned me on to using a metronome.
What?
Remember back before they
Oh,
had the electronic ones, it was just the wind up tick tock ones. I remember he pulled one out of his case. Man, metronome, for anyone who wants to play guitar, man, you gotta, really any instrument, but you gotta keep the beat. No matter how good you are, what style of music you want to play, you gotta be able to play in time. That's so important as a musician, to play in time. And the metronome will help you. That's so important. So Marty just showed me that and got me going on that. And from that point, I just fell in love more with guitar. He went on his way. His parents eventually moved to Hawaii. I moved out to Los Angeles, um, and went on to school there. Just graduated from that after a year teaching guitar. I saw a lot of teachers in my school were great musicians. A lot of them were famous in their own right, doing a lot of studio work, playing in bands, and I realized they're making great careers teaching too, doing studio work. And I realized there's more ways to make money than being a rock star. Although I moved out to Los Angeles with my band back in Maryland, we were doing a lot of local gigs, playing cover tunes. And then we moved out to Los Angeles and realized real quick, and playing in Hollywood, they don't want to hear cover songs. And when you play at the Troubadour, the Whiskey, Gazzarri's, they don't want you to play Quiet Riot songs and Van Halen and Led Zeppelin cover songs. They want to hear original music. So we had to quickly start writing songs. And then they don't want you to do 3 or 4 sets a night. They don't want you to do just one. Play for 45 minutes. Oh, and the other thing that was surprising too is you don't get paid. On on the East Coast, we got paid to play. You know, right? That's think about get paid to play as a musician. Los Angeles, you don't get paid to play. You have to pay to play. That was
That
that was
sounds
that
more
was a
like
slap in the
California.
face. But they that's what it is. But they don't the promoters don't word it like that. But that's what it really is you end up they want you to sell so many tickets that there's no way you're gonna ever recoup your money. So in the end, the back end, the band ends up having to pay the balance of it to play. So
Wow.
anyway, Scott, yeah. So from that point, I realized quick that if I really want to make a career playing guitar, I need to broaden, open my mind and my spectrum and go beyond just trying to be a rock star. And the other possibilities were teaching, doing studio work, also writing books, guitar instruction books. Doing back then, it wasn't DVDs and the internet. All we had back then was cassettes and VH tapes.
Yes, see.
So that's what I did. I was working with Starlicks videos, guitar tutorials. I did a bunch of lessons with them, videos with them, and Hal Leonard and Center Stream Publications and Cherry Lane. Oh, geez,
Wow.
I I yeah did a bunch more, but anyway, Scott.
I mean, you over 35 tutorial books?
Yeah, a lot, Scott. I got a bunch up on my bookshelf there. Several. Yep. If I
Yeah,
can swing my finger in the right direction.
you got it.
But there's a lot up there. A lot of them aren't even in print anymore because it's been since '85, '86 when I had my first one published. The Magic Touch was the first one. Flying Fingers was the second one. Some of them sold tremendous. Like for a guitar instruction book, to sell 30,000, 50,000 copies, 60,000.
Wow.
It's pretty decent for a guitar instruction book. Well, I was just going to say that, a lot of them aren't in print anymore, but about half of them still are, and they're doing still pretty well. And
That's great.
the
I
ones that they converted most of them over to CD instead of cassette, and then now they've even abandoned CDs, and now everything's been converted to a hard drive on Hal Leonard's uh, home website. So now you put in a passcode when you buy the book, and then you get all the audio files online that way.
okay. Yeah, that sounds about
So
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's just specifics, but
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. I mean, and then also you have four recorded LPs.
yeah, some
Are
of
they
my
related to the instruction or?
yeah, those my own the solo albums, Scott, are just totally unrelated to instruction. They're just my own music, just
Yeah.
my own stuff, instrumental. Um, Only one song on my Guitar Stew CD has vocals. I has one of my, in fact, the band I played with in Maryland, a band called Alias that I moved out to California with. When I told the band in Maryland that I was got accepted at music school, they were like, "Oh wow, okay." And it was like 6 months. I gave them 6 months about heads up that in 6 months I'm moving to Los Angeles. So they had a little band meeting, and then they said, "You know what? We're gonna move out there with you." So it was kind of fortunate for me that the whole band moved out there, and then I had a nice cushion too. It wasn't just me in Los Angeles by myself, but I had my whole band out there with me. Well, the singer in the band, Lisa Megan,
Well, I
she
know.
does a phenomenal job singing, and I'm shooting for like a Mike Bloomfield kind of BB King kind of feel, Freddie King kind of feel on the guitar end of it.
Okay.
Dickie Betts, Dwayne Allman type of feel. Um,
Oh, I'll be checking that out for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and where could people find that if they were interested?
Amazon.
Yeah. There you
Amazon has all my books, all the DVDs, all my albums, and my website. My
there.
website has links to it, and all the links take you to Amazon because
Okay.
Amazon kind of is the center point, the house for pretty much selling everybody's everything.
Isn't that the truth, man?
Yeah, man,
Get it there,
Scott.
it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Then there was one thing that popped up, which I just it blew my mind, and I hope that I can get some information from you on this one. And it's you worked with Randy Landis,
On what?
and you guys recorded the accompanying music for Rod Stewart's guitar book.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was yeah. All right. So Hal Leonard's the publishing company. They've hired me to do, and they hire a lot of guys like myself to do transcribing, to do studio work. So what you're referring to is the Rod Stewart book that I had to transcribe excerpts from several of his songs from different eras in Rod Stewart's music. You know, from back when he was with the Faces,
Uh-huh.
with Ron Wood, all the way up to his poppy stuff, solo career stuff. Um, and then we had to record. They gave us a little recording budget, Hal Leonard did, and I go in the studio and I hired a drummer, bass player, and I think a keyboard player too. And then I played all the guitar stuff, and then we just did excerpts from those songs that I transcribed for the book
Okay.
in there,
Yeah.
and then we did that. So yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Ronnie Wood, um, uh, simply partly because of his slide playing. I always thought he had a really unique style when he played the slide. And
Yeah, I learned a lot of when I was asked to do that. I'm not a great slide player at all, but when Hal Leonard asked me to do, like I did an Allman Brothers tutorial, DVD tutorial, and then some of the examples I had to do in that were slide, and then me to, they want to hear my slide playing before they gave me the job. So I had to send them some examples. So I had to learn slide real quick because I wanted the gig because I loved the Allman Brothers, but I didn't really feel my slide chops were up to par. So I did some quick wood shedding, got my stuff together, and apparently it was good enough for them, and they gave me the gig. And then I did the Allman Brothers DVD too, and I learned a lot from doing those licks. I learned a lot from doing the Ron Wood slide licks in that Rod Stewart book.
I can imagine.
And just from, I tell my students this too. It's like, guys, if you want to get better on guitar, you got to get uncomfortable. You gotta sweat. You can't just keep picking up your guitar and playing the same. You can't just keep picking up the guitar and playing. You can't keep playing Green Day because that's the only song you know and you like it because it's easy to do. You gotta work on something that's not so far out of your wheelhouse, but that challenges you to some degree, that makes you sweat, that might have some techniques in there that you can't do or that are just a little bit out of your reach, but you got to practice them. That's all the really good players get that way because they find what they're not good at and they work at it.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
wrestle with it until they get good at it. See, to play it that tight and as close to Jimmy Page as I can, it takes a lot of work. And when I show that to the students, it's like you got to take your time with it and don't worry about trying to play all of that immediately. It's not going to be a week or two. This could be like 6 months just to get that much of it.
Yeah.
But don't get discouraged. You got to just take your time. And like a song like that, for instance, when I was younger, I was just working on, that. That's all I worked on for a long time when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then when I had that good, then I added the next little part. You just kind of build it like a house. You start with the foundation, you get that solid first, and then you go from there. The thing I notice with a lot of people these days is that they're trying to do too much too soon. Everyone wants the quick fix, and they don't want to do what it takes to get good and build the foundation. They're building their house on sand.
Well, we don't want castles made of sand unless you can play it.
Touche, Scott. Touche.
So, like when you have, have you had any of your students, present or former, uh, show up somewhere after they've taken lots of lessons or have used some of your instructional material, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, that used to be a student of mine, and now they're playing somewhere, or
Oh yeah.
they're showing up at studios now.
Yep. Yeah.
Hopefully they give you credit.
Yeah. Well, even if they don't, I'm just still happy that I helped them along their path
Yeah,
at some way. Some of them have taken lessons from multiple teachers, and I encourage them to too. I have. I mean, I've taken lessons from all kinds of different teachers along the way. I know some students like to take from one teacher their whole path, their whole journey, and that's fine too. But I know other students take from several teachers, many teachers. That works for some people too. For me, I've studied with Spanish guitar teachers because I love that style, and you can hear that if you go on my YouTube channel. Which, if you look up my name online, it's just Dave Celentano. I think my YouTube channel is Wicked Music Box, and I only called it that because when I created it, my Wicked Music Box album had just come out, and I think I'm gonna change my channel back to Dave Celentano, which is easier. But anyway, if you go on there, you can hear the Spanish guitar style. I might play something like that in a few minutes if you like. But um, yeah, I've taken from Spanish guitar teachers for that style, which is completely different than the blues. The blues stuff I never really studied with any blues players, but I've done a ton of studying, transcribing. I did a Mike Bloomfield book. You found the Rod Stewart book. I did a Mike Bloomfield book for Cherry Lane. That gets huge reviews on Amazon. Are you familiar with Mike Bloomfield?
Oh yes, oh yeah,
And Paul Butterfield
yeah.
back when they played together, and then the Electric Flag back in the '60s. That's some awesome stuff with Mike. That is a great album.
Yeah.
Yes,
Have
East
that on
West. Yes,
that thing. Yeah, that's one of my favorites right there.
yes, man.
Uh,
Yeah, I love all kinds of music,
yeah.
and yeah, his stuff, the way he plays on like that song Texas. It's not on that album, but with Buddy Miles singing. I
Uh-huh.
love Mike's guitar playing on Texas, that slow blues, and just his tone and the way he chews into those notes.
Hmm.
I love that. Yeah.
You know, are you familiar with Larry Carlton's?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
because that guy has been, like, you check your liner notes, he's all over everybody's records, man. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
him and Jeff Baxter, Skunk. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Although,
those guys are celebrity studio musicians and player. I mean, they're just yeah, yeah. I'm a little guy. I'm more like a studio guy that does studio stuff for the publishers.
okay,
Those guys, and I haven't really done any studio stuff for the publishers in a while, but those two, who Jeff and Larry, who you're talking about, those guys are doing studio stuff for the artists. Like Michael Jackson and on soundtracks and Steely Dan and
And yeah,
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 Christopher Cross, all the big, the huge artists.
yeah. Like they call you in, you play for 30 minutes, you leave, and you don't know if they're going to use it, if you'll get a check or
Yeah, or I'm sure you get checked no matter what. You get paid, but you don't know if they're going to use it or not.
right, right.
Yeah, you just union rates, whatever.
Well, I think that this has been great. We might even do this again because we've tapped into a whole new format.
Yeah, Scott. I've got the old Les Paul right here for the blues. I mean, just mellow like that by myself, but you get an idea when you hear the song, when you got a band, you're playing over the track, you got to follow the chords, it's a little different. Now,
Man.
this thing, Scott, it's a different animal. Let me just get my little footrest, prop it up here. Voila!
Oh man, if that doesn't put you in a good place, that is amazing. What a great sound.
Cool, Scott.
So clean.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of practice, man. Don't come easy, Scott. I'm not gonna
Okay.
lie to you. It's a lot of practice.
Well, Dave, thank you once again for all your time and expertise. And we'll put some information up so if people want to obtain any of your booklets or just try to get in touch.